Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today we are going to discuss the last topic of our course 410, that is otic and nasal preparations. Students, let's start with today's lecture. In today's lecture, we will discuss otic and nasal preparations and their features. First of all, students, let's start with the definition that what are otic preparations. Actually, the word otic is derived from a Greek otikos, of which means of relating to or located near the ear. It is also called auricular. Otic preparations are pharmaceutical products, means drugs that are used inside, outside, or around the ears to exert therapeutic effect. Means otic preparations can be used inside and outside of the ear for their therapeutic effect. In general, otic preparations are products applied to or in the ear to treat conditions of the external, middle, and inner ear. As students, we will shortly discuss the anatomy of the and physiology of the human ear. Human ear is basically divided into three parts: external, middle, and inner ear. So we will have a look on these parts, and then we will discuss the different preparations that are being used for the otic preparation. As far as the definition is concerned, it is very simple that otic preparations are those drug products that are being used for their therapeutic effect inside, outside the ear. So you can also apply topically on the surface of the ear or around the ear for their effect. So simply, otic preparations are pharmaceutical products, means drug products that are used inside, outside, or around the ears to exert therapeutic effect. Let's proceed further. Students, as far as the anatomy and physiology of the ear is concerned, we will discuss it shortly. So let's start with that. The ear is very delicate and anatomically protected organ, and this poses many challenges for otic drug delivery, especially for the treatment of inner ear diseases. Traditional drug administration routes like oral routes, injection, and topical routes have been mostly ineffective for treating inner ear diseases due to three major physical barriers for drug delivery to the ear. The first one is the tympanic membrane. The second one, the round and oval window. We will see that what are round and oval window, and the blood perilymph barrier or the blood physical barrier. So these are the three barriers that will have to be passed by the drug in order to reach the inner ear. So as far as the anatomy of the ear is concerned, as we have discussed that it is very delicate, anatomically protected organ, and the routes, the conventional routes of drug administrations like oral routes, injection, and topical routes have been mostly ineffective for treating inner ear diseases. So we will have different formulations for the inner ear preparations, and there are three major physical barriers that will have to be passed by the drug in order to reach the inner ear for their therapeutic effect. Students, local drug delivery system to the ear have significant advantages over systemic drug delivery systems. As we have studied that there is a difference between local drug delivery system and systemic drug delivery system. In local drug delivery system, the drug is delivered to the desired place where it initiates its pharmacological response, while in systemic drug delivery, the drug is absorbed into the blood and after that pharmacological response is achieved. So, in most cases, as in case of otic preparation or ear preparation, local drug delivery has certain benefits than systemic drug delivery. Local drug delivery in most cases maximize drug concentration in the inner ear while minimizing systemic exposure. Because of this pharmacokinetic advantage, local drug delivery systems are becoming the most common clinical therapy method for the treatment of inner ear diseases. Currently, three main pathways for local drug delivery to the inner ear are the tympanic, transtympanic, intratympanic, and intracochlear routes. These are the three routes through which drugs are delivered to the inner ear. As far as the uh, benefit of the local drug delivery is concerned, so we have discussed that local drug delivery in most cases maximize drug concentration in the inner ear because we are directly giving drug to the inner ear, avoiding systemic uh, effect of the drug or systemic absorption of the drug. So by localized drug delivery, we can achieve maximum exposure in the local area while we are going to minimize the exposure of the drug to the systemic circulation because the inner ear is very protected organ. It is protected from the rest of the body by three physical barriers that we had discussed in the previous slide. We will have a detailed study about this in the coming slides. So as far as the treatment of the inner ear is concerned, it is mostly treated through these routes like transtympanic, intratympanic and intracochlear routes. These are the major routes which are used for the treatment of inner ear diseases. Students, as far as the anatomy of the human ear is concerned, you can see that the ear of human ear is divided into three parts. This from here to here, from the pinna up to the tympanic membrane. This is the outer ear. Then the red portion is the middle ear, and then the snail-like structure which has semicircular canals, oval window, and round window membrane. This is round window membrane, and this is oval window membrane. These are the connections that will have to be passed in order to reach the inner ear structure. This is the cochlea. This is the cochlear portion of the inner ear. So simply we can say that the ear of human being is divided into three parts: the outer ear, which is also called oris externa, middle ear oris media, and inner ear oris interna. So human ear is basically divided into these three parts. We will discuss these parts in our coming lectures. Otic preparations. We are studying otic preparations, and now we are going to discuss the anatomy and physiology of the ear. The human ear consists of three major parts: the outer ear, the inner, the middle ear, and the inner ear. The outer ear extends from auricle or pinna along the ear canal and ends at the tympanic membrane, which is also called eardrum. You can see in this slide, this is the outer ear. It starts from here, and this is the ear canal, and up to here, this is the tympanic membrane. This portion of the ear is called the outer ear. So a healthy ear canal is slightly acidic with pH value between 5 and 7, which can inhibit bacterial growth. At the end of the ear canal lies the tympanic membrane, which separates the middle ear from the outer ear. So student, it is clear from the diagram that the middle ear is separated from the outer ear by a tympanic membrane, and the region of the middle ear starts from pinna up to the tympanic membrane, and this is the ear canal, and this ear canal has slightly acidic pH because acidic pH will inhibit the growth of bacteria. So let's proceed further. The middle ear. The middle ear includes ossicular chain which consists of malleus, incus, stapes, and mucosal lining that keeps the middle ear environment moist. The Eustachian tube provides a conduit, means a passage between the middle ear and the upper airways to allow for equalization of middle ear pressure. Student, as far as the middle ear is concerned, the middle ear consists of these three parts: malleus, incus, and stapes, as highlighted. This is ossicle chain, and these three parts are the parts of the middle ear, and this is the Eustachian tube for airways balance, so that balance of the middle ear is maintained. So the middle ear consists of simply three parts: malleus, incus, and stapes. So, and these two windows, like oval window and round window membrane. This separates the inner ear from the middle ear. So let's proceed further. Now the inner ear includes the cochlea, the vestibule, and semicircular canal. Cochlea, the organs of balance. The cochlea is separated into three fluid-filled compartments. The middle compartment, called the scala media, is filled with endolymph, while the lower and upper compartments, the scala tympani and scala vestibule, are both filled with the perilymph. So there are two types of fluid in the inner ear, which are called endolymph and perilymph, and these fluids are responsible for the uh, conversion of sound waves into to pressurize the sound waves and produce sound in your ear. We are not going to discuss the physiology of the ear because we are simply studying the structure of the ear, and we will then define the drug or the dosage form for the ear. So in the diagram, you can see that the inner ear consists of cochlea, and these are the semicircular canals. This part of the ear is called inner ear, and this is protected. This is protected structure. It is protected from the systemic circulation also, and it is protected from the means there is a barrier between the middle ear and the inner ear. So let's proceed further. Now, students, what are the barriers in otic preparations? These barriers must be passed by the drug in order to produce its effect. The first major barrier to the drug delivery to the ear is the tympanic membrane, which is elliptical and slightly conical in shape and separates the middle ear from the outer ear, as we have discussed. The tympanic membrane is around 0.1 millimeter thick and consists of three layers: an outer epidermal layer, an inner mucosal layer, and a middle fibrous layer with collagen. So you can see that tympanic membrane is consists of three layers, and this is the first barrier for the drug to reach the middle layer. The tympanic membrane is impenetrable to all but relatively small and moderately lipophilic molecules due to its keratin and lipid-rich stratum corneum. The tympanic membrane is the first barrier to drug delivery to the middle and inner ear. So it must be breached or crossed if drugs are delivered to the through intratympanic injection or intracochlear injection. Because of its structural similarity to skin, transtympanic delivery can transport a drug across an intact tympanic membrane from the ear canal into the middle ear or inner ear. Student, as we have discussed that only small molecules having relatively lower molecular weight and that must be lipophilic, those drugs are moderately can pass through the tympanic membrane. So the first barrier, simply we can say that the first barrier to the drug that must be reached to the middle or inner ear is tympanic membrane. And tympanic membrane, as you can see, that consists of three layers, and these are lipophilic in nature. So those drugs that are lipophilic can cross these barriers and reach into the middle and inner ear. The second barrier to the drug delivery to the ear consists of the round window membrane and the oval window membrane. These are semi-permeable membranes located at the base of the cochlea that separates the cochlea from the middle ear. As we have discussed, there's these two membranes, round window membrane and the oval window. These are the semi-permeable membranes, and they separate the inner ear from the middle ear. So they are also considered as either barrier or as pathways in terms of drug delivery to the cochlea. When we are going to deliver drug to the cochlea or inner ear, then these barriers can be used as a pathways for drug. The third major barrier to drug delivery to the ear is BPB. The BPB is a physical and biochemical barrier. Physical and biochemical barrier between systemic circulation and the cochlea. It is formed by continuous capillary endothelium that links blood vessel in the cochlea. Means the physical and biochemical barrier separates the inner ear from the systemic circulation. The endothelial cells are connected by tight junctions with no fenestration or pores like the blood-brain barrier. The BBP is permeable only to small lipid-soluble molecules that are charged, water-soluble, or have high molecular weight may have low passive diffusion across the barrier. The physical and biochemical barrier protects the ear from the damage caused by exogenous and endogenous toxins in systemic circulation. As students, we had discussed that this barrier separates the inner ear from the rest of your systemic circulation. So all the toxins that may be exogenous or endogenous that are produced does not reach the inner ear because of this physical and biochemical barrier. The physical and biochemical barrier also protects the air from the damage caused by exogenous and endogenous toxins in systemic circulation. But it is also present, but it also presents challenges for efficient drug delivery from systemic circulation to the cochlea for treatment. As student, we had discussed that the oral routes or injections or those routes which are not delivering drug to the inner ear locally have reduced therapeutic effect because there is a barrier, physical and biochemical barrier that separates the inner ear from the rest of your systemic circulation. So if we are going to treat the inner ear through systemic circulation, there will be a reduced drug delivery to the inner ear because of this physical and biochemical barrier. So hope the concept is clear. Let's move further. Now, what are the major diseases of the ears that are being treated? The first one is earwax. Earwax is actually not a disease, this is a condition. This wax is produced due to exocrine or endocrine glands that have oily secretions and they produce earwax. The waxy material of the ear is called suramin or commonly known as earwax. Suramin is formed from the combination of the oily secretions from the exocrine glands with fatty fluid from the apocrine glands in the external auditory canal. Suramin contains lysozymes and enzymes that inhibit bacterial growth. The suramin helps in the lubrication of the ear canal. Suramin traps dust and other materials from reaching the inner ear. Suramin can also decrease auditory sounds, thus requiring removal. So earwax is usually secretions of your body that trapped in your ear, and this suramin is also responsible for the trapping of dust and bacterial particles. So otic preparations which are used for the removal of earwax sometimes referred to as ear or oral preparations. Solutions are most frequently used in the ear. Students, the dosage form that is being used for the to remove the earwax are mostly in solution form, with suspension and ointments also finding some applications. You can also use suspension and ointments in your in ear problems, but the use of these dosage forms is limited and most frequently solutions are used. Ear preparations are usually placed in the ear canal by drops in small amounts for removal of excess suramin, which is called earwax, for the treatment of ear infections, inflammation, or pain. So anti-infective, anti-inflammatory, and analgesic drugs can be incorporated in these solutions in order to combat with the infection of the ear. In suramin removing solution, light mineral oil, vegetable oil, and hydrogen peroxide have been commonly used, which softens impacted suramin for easy removal. Carbamide peroxide in glycerin and propylene glycol may also be used. Student, we cannot use aqueous preparation or we cannot use water as a base in these preparations because the wax is actually fatty in nature, and if we will formulate our drug in aqueous form, then it will not absorb properly. It will not facilitate the removal of the suramin because of the compatibility, as we had studied that like dissolve like. So the preparation must contain waxy material or non-aqueous base should be used as a solvent for the preparation of ear wax. So here a simple reason can be asked that why we cannot formulate ear preparation with aqueous solutions, because aqueous solutions are incompatible with the ear secretions, therefore they will not absorb or they will not mix properly with the earwax and therefore will not produce the required effect. Therefore we use glycerin, or we can also use mineral oils or vegetable oils, and the agents which are used are hydrogen peroxide, which softens the suramin for easy removal. Carbamide peroxide in glycerin and propylene glycol may be used. Students, major otic disease are the disease of the outer ear, middle ear, and inner ear. Outer ear disease is called swimmer's. It is also called swimmer's ear or acute external otitis. Middle ear disease is called otitis media, while the inner ear diseases there are different, like hearing loss due to uh, sensorineural hearing loss, noise-inducing hearing loss, sudden sensory neural hearing loss, autoimmune inner ear disease, Meniere's disease, tinnitus. These are the conditions which are faced by patients in the inner ear. Otitis externa. This is a generalized infection involving the whole skin of the external canal of the ear. Causes a common source of the infection is increased moisture trapped in the ear canal from baths, showers, swimming, or moist environment. When water is trapped in the ear canal, bacteria that normally inhabit the skin, means normal flora of the body, and ear canal multiply, causing infection of the ear canal because of the water, as water is the best medium for the growth of microorganisms. This disease, otitis externa, is also called swimmer's ear, need to be treated to reduce pain and eliminate any effect it may have on your hearing, as well as to prevent the spread of infection. So otitis externa is treated. Then the disease of the middle ear is otitis media. It is the inflammation of the middle ear, the cavity between the eardrum and the inner ear, that causes the tubes to close, causing the fluid to become trapped. Bacteria from the back of the nose travel through the eustachian tube directly into the middle ear cavity and multiply in the fluid. This tube may become blocked by bacterial or viral infection. Symptoms like hearing loss, tinnitus means ringing of the ear, deafness, headache, raise in temperature, purulent discharge, burst of the eardrum. These may be the consequences of the otitis media if not treated. Treatment of otitis media, we use antibiotics, ear drops, antihistamine, anti-inflammatory, and analgesic drugs are being used for the treatment of otitis media. Otic preparations. In otic preparation, anti-infective preparations means those drugs which are used for the bacterial or fungal infections caused in the ear. Used topically in the ear are formulated as ear drops, solutions or suspensions in a vehicle of anhydrous glycerin or propylene glycol. Anhydrous means that there is no water. These viscous vehicles permit maximum contact time between the medication and the tissue of the ear. In addition to their hygroscopic opacity, causes them to draw moisture from the tissue, reducing inflammation and diminishing the moisture available for the life processes of the microorganisms. So these are the benefits of using these non-aqueous vehicles in otic preparation. To assist in relieving the pain, a number of anti-infective otic preparation also contain analgesic agents such as antipyrine and local anesthetics such as pramoxine and pramoxine hydrochloride and benzocaine. These are the preparations which are used for otic. In otic preparation, when preservation is required, such agent as chlorbutanol 0.5%, thimerosal 0.01%, and combination of the parabens are commonly used. Antioxidants such as sodium bisulfate and other stabilizers are also included in otic formulation as required. Students, those preparation that contains preservative must be used carefully and must be assured that there is no perforation in the eardrum. If there is a perforation in the eardrum, then these preservatives may cause damage. Air preparations also are usually packed in 5 to 15 ml glass or plastic containers with a dropper for proper installation into the air. These are the examples of otic preparation, students. As you can see that these are the products that are available in market. These are the manufacturer of these products, the active ingredients being used, and the vehicle. And these are the indications for which these drugs are used. American Otic, this product manufactured by Novartis, active ingredient in benzocaine. Vehicles are glycerin, polyethylene glycol 300, and used as a local anesthetic for ear pain, pruritus in otitis media, swimmer's ear, and similar conditions. It can be used. Here you can see that uh, these drug products are used for the removal of ear wax, suraminics, ear drops. Fruit fedric is the manufactured triethanolamine, polypeptide, oleate, condensate. These are the active ingredients. Propylene glycol is a vehicle, removes impacted earwax. So chloromycetin, otic, corticosteroid, otic solution, it is prepared by Glaxo Wellcome. So these are the different category of the drugs that are being used for the otic preparation. Here you can see that there are antibiotics, and we can also see that here are hydrocortisone. We can also use steroids in air preparation like prednisolone sodium. So these are the different preparations that are being used for otic preparation. These are the different active ingredients that are used in otic preparation. Now students, let's proceed further. Now this diagram shortly represents the modern drug therapy that are being used in the air. As in the diagram you can see that the air is divided into three parts: outer air, middle air, and then inner air. Inner air is the the drug delivered through inner air is called intracochlear drug delivery, and these contain solutions, implants, and medical devices like osmotic pump delivery, syringe pump delivery. These are the modern techniques that are being used to deliver drug directly into the cochlear root. And the drugs that are being used all over the for the otic preparations, the different dosage forms are solution, suspension, hydrogels, then nanoparticles, and medical devices. These are being used for the treatment of inner ear diseases. So now let's start that what are nasal preparation and how what are the ingredients that are used in the nasal preparation. Most nasal preparations are solutions or suspensions administered by drops as a or as a fine mist. Most of these preparations are in solution form and are administered as a nose drops or sprays. So the most common drug delivery system to the nose are nose drops or nose sprays. Nasal decongestant solutions are employed in the treatment of rhinitis of the common cold. Nasal decongestant are the most commonly drugs that are used for nasal preparation in common rhinitis or common flu when there is a conjunction of the nose. So for decongestion, we use the drugs which are mostly alpha adrenergic drugs, or we can say that they are vasoconstrictor and they relieve the congestion in your nose. Most nasal decongestant solutions are aqueous. Students, the solutions are aqueous, means the base we are using for the to prepare a solution is water. It must be isotonic to the nasal fluid, approximately equivalent to 0.9% sodium chloride. Buffers are also used to maintain drug stability while approximating the normal pH range of the nasal fluid is 5.5 to 6.5 and stabilized and preserved as required. The antimicrobial preservatives are the same as those used in ophthalmic solutions. We have discussed the preservatives being used in ophthalmic solutions, so the same preservatives are used in nasal preparations. Students, the concentration of adrenergic agent in most nasal decongestant solution is quite low, ranging from about 0.05 to 1%. 0.05 to 1%. Most solutions for nasal use are packed in dropper bottles or in plastic spray bottles, usually containing 50 to 30 ml of the medication. Inhalants. In nasal preparation, inhalations are drugs or solution of drugs administered by the nasal or oral respiratory route. The drugs may be administered for local action on the bronchial tree or for systemic effect through or for systemic effect through absorption from the lungs. Certain gases such as oxygen and ether are administered by inhalation, are finely powdered drug substance and solution of drugs administered as a fine mist. So spray are also used for the inhalation purpose through nose or through oral route. In this formulation, in these inhalations, we use sterile water for inhalation USP and sodium chloride inhalation USP may be used as a vehicle for inhalation solutions. Inhalation solutions, students, are those solutions that can be inhaled. A widely used instrument capable of producing fine particles for inhalation therapy is the nebulizer. The apparatus contains an atomizing unit in a bulbous glass chamber. A rubber bulb at the end of the apparatus is depressed and the medicated solution is drawn up a narrow glass tube and broken into fine particles by the by passing the air stream. The particles produced range between zero point 0.5 to 5 micrometer. The larger, heavier droplets of the mist do not exit the apparatus but fall back into the reservoir of the medicated liquid. The lighter particles do escape with the airstream air and are inhaled by the patient. So students, for inhaling purpose, the most commonly used apparatus is nebulizer. Let's proceed further. The drugs which are used in inhalations are called inhalants. And inhalants are drugs or combination of drugs that by virtue of their high vapor pressure can be carried by an air current into the nasal passage where they exert their effect. The device that holds the drug or drugs and from which they are administered is an inhaler. So inhalants are drug and inhaler is a device that contains the inhalants. For instance, in nasal preparations, we mostly incorporate propylhexidrine. Benzedrex, Manly and James Labs is a liquid that volatilizes slowly at room temperature. The inhaler is placed in the nostril and vapor inhaled to relieve nasal congestion. The inhalers are effective so long as the volatile drug remains present. To ensure that the drug does not escape during period of non-use, the caps on the inhaler should be tightly closed. Students, these are the preparations that are used for nasal treatment or through nasal drug delivery system. Here you can say sprays, solutions. These are most widely used nasal preparations. So you can see there is a list of the products, their manufacturers, their active ingredient and used in the different condition of the nose. Students, you today we had covered all the chapters in our course, that is 410, and inshallah in when the university will open, so we will revise all these lectures in few classes physically so that you can grab the concept properly. Up till now, students, thank you very much.